Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Derek Eklum over here at Foundation Software, and I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar, which is titled Mobile Solutions for Field and Office. This will be what we're going to be doing here today is I'll be kind of showcasing some of the mobile products that we have here at Foundation. Just going through a short presentation, and at the end, we'll kind of open it up for questions. With that being said, I guess kind of more specifically, the three products we're going to be taking a look at is our mobile field log application, or our mobile app, or some people call it the mobile time card app. And then there's also our service mobile application for service work. And then lastly, we have e-access, which is an online portal for your employees to view their payroll information. So that's what we'll be taking a look at today. And I will say, this being a client webinar series, if you do already have these products, these are going to be more on the sales side. So if you have questions more on like setup or user security, things like that kind of get, detailed type questions like that, our support department is great. Just feel free to reach out to them and they'd be happy to give you a hand. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and jump into the big one here. I'll start with the largest product that we have. Probably going to be spending most of our time here on this. It is our most popular mobile product. But this is our mobile field log application. The main idea of this is it allows your employees to enter mainly time card information from the field that'll tie directly to Foundation. So you guys that are watching the webinar here are probably aware there's all kinds of different mobile apps out on the marketplace. They all do basically the same thing: time and attendance, collecting time. Some have higher end features than others. Some cost more than others. Where we're going to be different than all of the above is this is the only product that ties directly to Foundation. There's no other mobile app on the market anywhere that ties to Foundation this way. So this will connect directly to your database. Doesn't matter if you're on our hosted services or if you have Foundation installed locally. I guess that can be said for all three of these products. But this one specifically will push and pull data back and forth. So all of your employees, your jobs, cost codes, earn codes, other information will pull into the mobile app, and then when somebody submits a time card, it goes back the other, direction into your payroll module. So integration is one big separating point, separating difference between us and other mobile apps. And then the other side of it too is pricing. Now I won't get into detail on pricing because it does kind of depend on if you are on our hosted versus on-premise option, but we don't price by user. That's a little bit different than anybody else that I've run across in the industry too. So you could have 100 employees, 500 employees, could have 20 employees. Pricing standard across the board. Now the mobile app, getting into some more of the details here. There's a base package and then optional add-ons. I guess it's kind of the equivalent back in Foundation of the base modules and then additional modules. So the base package in our mobile app is everything that you see on the screen here. So it mainly consists of time card entry. We give you 3 different ways to do that. There's an approval process, and then there's some extra pieces here: weather, job notes, job files or pictures, and then in purple are just basic reports or lists. So that's what's considered the base package, and then the optional add-ons that could be included if you'd like. There's 7 of them altogether. There's time card signatures, a feature called expense tracking, geotagging, equipment, materials, purchase orders, and lastly, quantity complete. So those are all the optional pieces. Now, I mentioned how you can have as many people on this as you want to. From a security standpoint, there's an endless amount of ways that you can go, an endless amount of directions you can go from there too. So I guess ultimately we try to keep this as flexible as we can for all of our companies. It's really up to you as a company to determine how you want to use this, who do you want to have use this, what features do they see. So from a security standpoint, you can limit which of these features a certain employee can get to, and then further down you can limit what employees they can see, what jobs they can see, what cost codes and what earn codes they can see. So you can make this really small for certain individual employees, or you can leave it completely wide open for maybe somebody like a project manager, someone along those lines. And by default, if you mark an employee back in your foundation system as terminated, they drop off the list. If you mark a job as closed, it drops off the list. And then if you are entering in a time card like here, you can only select cost codes that are part of that job budget. So all in all, it just tries to make sure that you're at least in the right scope of the project. You can't pick something that's just completely out of left field here with our mobile app. So those are just some of the basic things to know about it. I guess kind of the screenshots here, I'll just kind of go through them so you can see how they work. All pretty straightforward. It's designed to be easy to use. People are using this out in the field on phones and maybe tablets, so it can't be something overly cumbersome. But the grid time card, this is typically used by foremen or project managers, where they would come into here, say, okay, I'm going to do a new time card for this job, for this date, and then next they can pick whatever employees are working with or are working with them that day. And then the same thing with cost codes, picking whatever cost codes they're handling on that project that day. And then it's just an easy way to go through and enter in what they did. Just you can kind of see how I'm just keying in hours based on those cost codes and for those employees there. So that would be the grid time card. And then the next one, pretty self-explanatory, called clock in, clock out. This one is the one of the three that is very rigid. It's black and white. For most companies, you either like it or you're going to say to yourself, probably this 30 seconds I've gotten into it, nope, I'm not going to use it at all. So it's where an employee would come in, they'd select their job in cost code, they clock in. This is real time. It's right down to the minute. When they're done, they go ahead and clock out, and that's it. If they change jobs, they change codes, they're punching out, punching back in. It's as simple as that. So that's the clock in, clock out. And then the third one is called single time card. So this is where we were kind of talking about the security options as far as what you can limit. But yeah, you've got employee, job, cost code, earn code, date, and hours. You can always do a group time card here if you want to, where you can select a crew and see who's there and maybe take Drew out of the crew. But yeah, this one's just a simple way to get the time entered in. And just like we mentioned before on the clock in, clock out, if somebody works on multiple jobs or they do different cost codes, it's just another entry. It's really no different than anything else, whether it's the old-fashioned paper world or a different mobile app. If somebody did something different, it's just another entry. There's no limit to the entries you're doing. It's just a matter of keying them in based on what actually happened out on that job that day. So that's the single time card. Now from here, I'm going to go ahead and submit these time cards, and I'll show you what happens next, and that would be the approval step. So to approve time cards, once they're submitted, they would go to another employee, or they can go to a group of employees if you choose. You can always base who they go to on the job on the time card, which is the most common, or you can base it on the employee on the time card, or even the mobile user that entered the time card, depending on how your company is structured as far as who reports to who. But when it goes to that person, they could get an email alert if you want to turn on that feature, but otherwise they'll see it on their app. They can log in and take a look at all the detail, and as an approver, they can make adjustments or changes to that time card. Or if they'd rather, you can flag the time card, and down here in red it says mark rejected. I can mark it as rejected, put a little note into here, and that's going to go back to the original employee to revise and resubmit. So either way, whether as an approver you fix it or you essentially hand it back to that employee to correct, either way will work. But then once everything is good, you can go ahead and mark it as approved, and that's when it will push into Foundation. And when it does that, the people on the payroll side of things, they still hold all the cards. They're still the main gatekeepers. Really what changes on their side back in Foundation is they're not going to have to track down employees and for their time card. They're not going to have to manually enter this in. Maybe you're using a different third-party mobile app. You're not going to have to mess around with messy import and export spreadsheets or cleaning those up, because everything's all tied together here. So that's the main time card process of our mobile app. Now the other features within the base package, again, this everybody that adds our mobile app has these features. There's a weather feature, so just an easy way to select a job and a date, and it'll go out and get current weather conditions. So pretty simple there. There's a job note feature. Pretty simple here. I mean, if you want to, you can create different categories and priorities, but otherwise it's just a way to fill in different miscellaneous notes. You can do as many notes as you want to, up to you. And then the last one here is called job files. Neat little feature, and the camera kind of gives it away, but it's a way to save pictures and documents. So the idea is you can select a job, and if there's any existing pictures or documents out there, you'd be able to see those, download those, but then you can also upload other pictures, other documents that are out there if you want to. So job files is that feature, being able to save documents and pictures. And if you do have our document imaging module, it'll save these pictures and documents back into the job record in Foundation, kind of act as like a two-way street to communicate information back to the office. And then in purple, some reports. I don't know if you want to call them reports. It's not like you're going to see job cost reports here. These are more, I guess you can call them lists or maybe even logs, just like the daily log shows here. So this, based on the date and the job, just pulls together whatever was entered against that project for the day. You can print this, export it out to CSV or PDF, just a simple daily log. And then the other one is called submitted time. This is time card information. A lot of criteria. You can subtotal by job or date or employee, different dates, different jobs, different employees, different approval statuses even. But based on all that criteria you fill out, it just gives you a nice report here that you can review, print if you'd like, export out, all the same as that daily log report that we looked at. So that would be all of the features of the base package. Now the other items over here to the left, we call these optional add-ons. They're similar to additional modules back in Foundation. So depending on what you want your employees to do in the field, also maybe what modules you have back in your Foundation database, because some of these need those there in order to operate. So first one is called time card signatures. The way that this works is time cards, everything we talked about already has to happen. So it has to be entered, submitted, and approved. And then it can go to the employee to pull up their time card, review it, and then you can create up to 3 questions like these, like were you injured? Did you take all of your breaks? Did you attend your safety meeting? And then you can come up with your own company legalese here, in the disclaimer section. And then here's where they can sign off on it, or they can decline. And it's just a way to kind of capture, via that employee that they agreed or disagreed, and how they answered those questions. So that way, if anything happened down the road, you could pull this up as a reference, as something to kind of hold against potentially what that employee might say. So that's time card signatures. And then there's expense tracking, which this would be for employee reimbursement. So if an employee pays for something out of pocket, like I've got tools here, or I guess you could say parking, or maybe they get paid out mileage, anything really. The idea is you can enter in this time card. They can select the job that it goes to, enter in the dollar amount. And then the big thing with this is being able to attach a picture of a receipt. So they can snap a picture of the receipt, attach that to the time card, and then it goes through the same approval process as any other time card out there. So that's the expense tracking feature. And then a third one is called geotagging. Now this is a feature that only works with the clock in, clock out type of time card where somebody's punching in and punching out. It won't work with the grid or with that single time card, but this is more of a supervisory tool. So you can say, hey, for this job and this date range, you can always select certain employees too. Like if you have to do some extra babysitting for certain people, you can just select them. But when you run the report, it would show, let me kind of go out and pick a bigger date range there. See, I've got to have something March there. Well, maybe not. But that would normally show where employee is in relation to the job site. So the gray circle would be the job site. Maybe I've got a bunch of good employees. The gray circle would be the job site, and if anybody clocked in or out outside of it, you'd be able to see them, drill into their detail. You can even flip over to a satellite view and zoom in or out to kind of see where they were. So that's a geotagging feature. And then there's one for equipment. Now this would only work if you had our equipment module. It would pull your equipment items from your Foundation database, and then you can enter in more or less an equipment time card. This would be for equipment utilization or equipment time, and it would push these 10 hours to this job. There'd be a cost rate associated with that piece of equipment so that it would burden that job accordingly. So there's an equipment piece, and then a few others. Material, so this one you would need to have our inventory module, and the main idea with this is it allows you to pull items out of the warehouse. So you can select the job that it's going to, what warehouse it's being pulled out of. Here's where you can select the items. There's keyword searches all throughout the mobile app, so it is easy to find and search for different records, like especially inventory items, because you might have hundreds, if not thousands, really. But when you select the item, then you can enter in the quantity, and then this would push into Foundation too. And in all of these entries, just like the time card I mentioned earlier, nothing's going to automatically be able to post it. Basically, somebody picks it up in Foundation, can review it before they actually post that and have it hit reports there. So there's material, and then purchase orders. So just an easy way for an employee on the field to enter in basic purchase order information to communicate back with accounts payable so that they have something to tie back to when the invoice comes. So there's a purchase order add-on, and then lastly is a feature called Quantity Complete, which is helpful if your company does production reporting. So they can enter in how many quantities of a particular cost code were done for that day. So that would be all of the optional add-ons, and that is our kind of flagship mobile product. It's called our mobile field log application. So that would be one of them. Now a second one here. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Let's see here. I will talk about e-access next. Pretty straightforward. This one, so e-access is an online portal. We call it the e-access portal. This is an online portal for your employees to review payroll information. Most notably, it would be for their pay stub, but it would also show other information. So basically, each employee would have their username and password. And actually, all three of these products, if you happen to have all three, an employee would only have one username and password, and it'd be the same for all three products. So we try to keep it streamlined from that point of view. But the idea is they'll go ahead and log in, and then that'll show a front screen here that will include their most recent pay stubs, along with kind of links to all the other areas of this. But yeah, most notably, they would go ahead and drill in, and they'd be able to see their pay stub information. So this is an excellent tool for companies that are direct deposit. It's something that, sure, it's a perk for the employees, but as a business, you're probably looking at margins and how do I save money, and this is something that can help out there too. Whether it's just from mailing these out or tracking down employees and saving employee time, or maybe even just answering miscellaneous questions that employees might have. Getting this in their hands to kind of help them out that way would be a big bonus to them. But yeah, pay stub information, and they can always print this or export it out. But yeah, the main idea is this is pay stub information. It would show historical pay stub information, so they can go back as long as you've had Foundation will be included here. There's also a section for PTO, paid time off, which links to the accrual code section in Foundation. So if you've got PTO or sick or vacation set up there, that all would pull into here. All the moving parts too, whether that's accrued or used, or maybe they get their balances all at once. Just a way for them to keep track of that. And then lastly is a report section. There's an earnings and deductions report that shows grand totals. And then there's another report that's called time card history. Again, they can put in different date ranges. Here they can always select a job or a trade too, but then that'll show that information as well. And the report section and the PTO section, you can always remove from certain employees. So if maybe you want to remove it from all of them, maybe just from some of them, yeah, because we do have a lot of companies that are union contractors, so we really wouldn't need the PTO section. But yeah, if you didn't want to have these two sections, you just wanted them to basically see pay stub information, you can do that. So that is our e-access portal. And then the last one, save this one for last, because I want to kind of hit the two that really affect the majority of our customers. But this one is called our service mobile application. So this one's a little bit unique. You need to have our service module back in Foundation. So this would be for companies that do service work, work orders, work tickets. I know sometimes companies call them different things, but they're all kind of the same thing. But the idea is that the service mobile application would be a paperless work order. So the idea is the service call would be created and scheduled to one of your technicians, and then your technicians would have this app that they would be able to log into and see what calls they have scheduled for that day. They can always jump around and see what they had, on Tuesday or Monday, or what do I have scheduled for tomorrow. But the idea is that, by default, it goes to today's date. They can see the details there. And when they open that up, it allows them to go through and essentially fill out all of the work order information electronically, and this would all push back into Foundation. So this will have contact information, where are they going, who are they dealing with, what's the phone number. There's even a little site info so they can see prior times they've been out at this location. There's also the ability to pull up a map or get directions. But then the next section down here, more details specific to this individual call, this individual ticket. So who's the lead technician, what type of repair, what work is needed to be done, are there any notes? And then when the call is completed, that's where it can be flagged off here to notify the office that it's ready to be billed, or you can actually, the service tech can actually bill it from the field too if you'd rather do it that way. So some flexibility there. There's also an equipment option down here, so this would show installed equipment. So this isn't talking about the equipment module back in Foundation like on our other mobile app. This would more be, if you're a service company and you installed like an AC unit or a hot water tank, that would be like what this would be here, where you can see, what's been installed previously. There's also the ability to use user-defined fields, or we call them UDFs, if you've been with Foundation for a while. But these are really helpful here. You can create as many of them as you want to. It's just a nice way to collect additional information, and it can be something that's internal, or it can be something that would show to a customer, whether it's on an invoice or a work order if you'd like. But yeah, really helpful. And then description of repair, labor, and material are the three main fields to fill out for the technician. So description of repair, this is just where they're going to go ahead and fill out what they did. And if they're on a device that supports text to talk, that works here. So make their life a little bit easier. Labor, here's where they're going to go in and fill out. I was here from 12 to, we'll say 4. There's an optional description. There's also a place to fill out pricing. So you could always hide this too. So there's some flexibility here in this product. But if you did want to allow them to grab different price levels and pull those in, you can. And then for material, just like it sounds, they can pull in material. Now, if you have our inventory module, this is where you can grab the parts, the quantity, save this. Again, if you want to get into pricing, you can. If it's not part of this list of inventory, or maybe as a company you don't have that inventory module, you can still use this. It's just a matter of just typing in descriptions, quantities, unit of measure, right on down the line there. So that's the material section. And then a couple other little nice features up in the top corner. There's a little file up here. That is for pictures. So if you remember back on that our main mobile application for time cards, we had that job file feature where you can save pictures and documents. Same kind of idea here. This would allow your service tech to attach a picture or document here, and then this would be attached to the service call. If you have our document imaging module, this would actually push back into Foundation, and vice versa. So if the office wanted to attach like a checklist to a service call, they'd be able to pull it up out in the field too. And then the last little feature here is this little clipboard with a pencil. Now, before I do that, I got to press that little submit button, which actually pushes the data directly into the service call in Foundation. But yeah, the little clipboard with a pencil, this is called the service review. So this is what you would typically when you'd hand your tablet over to the customer. They can review it. And of course, you'd have your own company logo. You can control what shows, if you want to include pricing or not, but the idea is the customer can review this, and then they can electronically sign off on it, and then they would be emailed a PDF copy of this, and another PDF copy would be attached to the service call the same way as the pictures and documents would. So that is the service mobile application. Yeah, just a more efficient way to collect work order information besides doing it on paper. So we have our mobile application, our e-access portal, and then our service mobile application, all helping make your processes more efficient instead of using paper, handing pay stubs out, and things like that. So I hope you enjoyed kind of just an overview. Like I said before, if you do already have one of these products and you have questions, our support department is great at answering those. If you don't have one of these and you are interested or have questions on pricing or really anything else, I'd be happy to give you a hand. Let me pull up my information here. That's me. That's my phone number, email address. If you have any questions, follow-ups, I'd be happy to give you a hand. And at this point, I'll turn it over to you guys, see if you have any questions. And otherwise, I hope you guys have a good day. And then there is a question here about W-2s. And this is more along the lines for e-access. It's asking, are W-2s available in e-access? No, they are not. So I know we've kind of gone back and forth as a company over the years, but to this day, still nothing that we're prepared to do at this moment. And I'll give you guys a few more minutes just to make sure we've got all the questions answered. And my information one more time, my phone number is 1-800-246-0800. Email address dke@foundationsoft.com. And a question here, is this available in both iOS and Android? Absolutely. There are native apps for both of those. There's also a web-based app that you can use on a computer too. So device-wise, you are covered across the board. Then a question on the mobile application. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Yep, right here. Can you enter time cards to a dispatch number, or does it have to be a job? Well, the way Foundation typically works is a service dispatch call creates a job number automatically. I don't know if I have any out there. Not really, but yeah, if you do have a service call job, that would appear in this list all the same. And yes, you will receive a recording of this webinar. Actually, anybody that just registered, even if you didn't make it here live, we'll get a recording out to you here in the next day or two. And then it looks like a follow-up question on that service question here on the mobile side. Yeah, so if you enter their time card information, that does not update the work order. So yeah, you kind of want to look at it as employees filling out their time card here and then filling out the work order here for billing purposes to complete that work order to bill out to the customer. And then, yep, another question along that lines too. So yeah, the service mobile app, if they do enter their labor here, you see there's a cost code. The time from service mobile calls can push over to the payroll module. It all just depends on some setup. So yeah, if you do have these and you have questions, that's where our support department can give you a hand. Yeah, it's just it'll work either way. It's just really just honestly finding the best fit. What is the I guess like the path of least resistance, I guess you could call it. All right, everybody, I do appreciate it. And again, if you need anything after the fact, that is my information. I'd be happy to give you a hand. But otherwise, you guys have a good rest of your day and good rest of your week. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.